So there's now a second caravan coming at us from the Central Americas, I guess you could say. First it was Honduras, and now it's El Salvador. And I got to thinking, what are they fleeing? Why are they fleeing? Why risk 10,000 people almost altogether not stopping in Mexico but continuing on to America? What's so special about us? And what the hell are they running away from? But first I thought maybe it'd be beneficial if we look into the UN human rights law, I guess you could say, regarding asylum. Why not? Just to make sure that, do they have to actually, because one of the rumors was, or one of the saying was, that they have to actually stop at the Mexican border, the first country they reach. And I don't think that's true, and I didn't see anything that actually corroborated that. So here is the right of asylum as we understand it today. I'm going to scroll down here to the modern asylum. Article 14 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that everyone has a right to seek and enjoy other countries' asylum from persecution. Excuse me. And then it goes into kind of the history and the details where this came from. The whole idea basically being that if you're looking from political asylum or the gangs run the country, stuff like that, yeah, you can leave. Go somewhere else where it's safer, where you might be able to not be harmed, persecuted by your government, you name it. And then I found it interesting that this is in there, but then you go along and you find what they're running away from. So what's so bad about Honduras and El Salvador that people want to leave those countries?
What are you going to do? Listen, I have some ideas.
There's a representative Democratic Republic election where the president of El Salvador is both head of state and government, and executive powers exercised by the government. Legislative powers vested on both the government and the legislative assembly. Judiciary is independent of executive and legislature. So they're a flawed democracy, as it's said in this particular Wikipedia article. Now, keep in mind that I don't trust Wikipedia at all. In academic circles, it's usually considered that you don't cite them as any source. But this is YouTube, so I don't put that much rigor into anything when it comes to that. Journal articles are boring as fuck. No one wants to listen to them, so we can go from here. But the current president is this guy right here. He took office in 2014. He won the election from the left wing, so and so forth, of the National Liberation Front, previously held as vice president. Prior to that, and it's an absolute majority, meaning they don't use the electoral college. It's popular vote that gets these people in. They really just kind of cover what goes on there, but I wanted to point out they elect their president. I think this is important to say when I connect these strings of thoughts together, that their leadership is elected. Same with Honduras. If we go over here, this guy right here, Juan Orlando Hernandez, he is the National Party, and he is elected 2014. Their government's pretty much kind of the same thing as it's shaped awful to look a lot like United States model, except no one uses the electoral college there. It's segregated of powers. It's independent. There's not much difference between the two governments. But that's not what they're fleeing, obviously. It's not the governments that they're fleeing unless there's something apart from these governments that they would be fleeing, or maybe there's a lot of crime or drugs or something. So you got to take each country and kind of look at what would cause the most angst for people to just say I'm done and leave the country. And Since we have Venezuela as a landmark of places that suck completely because of socialism, I thought I'd look up these other countries and see how they've been doing.
My records are showing that it is losing money.
So let's start with El Salvador. 21st century socialism failure on the march. This is March 2014, so right after our great El Salvador leader is elected. It's found that socialism was tried for a number of years. He sought for another term and lost. Maduro backed this guy from Venezuela. It's pretty interesting. If you read through it, it's very kind of, this is a one-sided bias kind of paper from what I've read. But essentially, they've been trying socialism for a very freaking long time. Same goes for Honduras. This is in 2017. Threat of socialism looms again in Honduras with a candidate of Salvador Nasrallah. I think that person's name is. I hope I didn't butcher it. So they had it in 2006. They had it for a long freaking time. God, this site sucks. Quit refreshing. What the fuck's wrong with you? They had a long socialist party that had been motivating and changing the world and promising a utopia of free shit for their people and ruining the country in the process. So when I put these three things together, I'm compelled to question, if socialism's so great, why do we have 10,000 people heading toward the American border where we said socialism is not acceptable here and we will not have socialism here? Here's the interesting thing. I want you to think about this, because this is going to tie into another argument, I think. And that's to say that if democratic socialism, as it's put, because apparently if I just put socialism by itself, some people on Twitter have problems with that, but when I say democratic socialism, it's supposed to be different somehow. Both of these countries elected their leaders and they're socialist. All the power is in the government's hands. These places suck and people are fleeing en masse. 10,000 people is not a small number when you consider the population of the country. Yeah, it's not 314 million people in the United States. You don't see us going anywhere. In fact, everybody's trying to come here. If capitalism is so horrible with regulation, not crony capitalism as they put, or unfettered, unregulated capitalism, no, even wealth can cause power to be corrupt. That's just the way things are. Once people have a lot of power, it's easy for that person to lose sight of the morality in the line of a returning investment. But that's not my problem. It's these people are elected. This is democratic socialism at that point. Democratic being the rule of thumb where you elect the people that will govern the country. You get to vote for these people. Never mind if your vote is tampered with, controlled by the state, and then manipulated, modified to give the outcome that the government wants. You still got to vote now, didn't you? Clearly that's corrupted democracy. But what do you think socialism leads to? You give a whole lot of power to the people in charge. They're going to use that power to control the rest of the people. That's just what happens when you give people too much power. They become bullies. They become manipulative bastards, to say the least. Everybody seems to think that going the socialist way and taking guns out of the hands of citizenry and all this other stuff that they push for, they seem to forget that the Republicans are in charge now. So you're going to give all this power to the people you despise. How stupid can you be? Apparently very stupid, because the state is supposed to provide for you, right? Well, even the most liberal socialist places in the United States are the worst to live in right now. Just take San Francisco as kind of an obvious and easy target. sanctuary city, very socialist government, or not government, socialist people running the government. They have to abide by the confines of the Constitution, and the citizenry can remove them at any point in time. But that's the problem. I think the underlying thing is that you got a bunch of people that seem to think that socialism is the way to be. And here's two cases of people fleeing en masse, 10,000 people strong, to run away from socialism.
What do you have to say?
If we are serious about rebuilding the American middle class, if we are serious about reinvigorating American democracy, we need to develop a political movement which once again is prepared to take on and defeat a ruling class whose greed is destroying our nation.
So why do I bring this all up? Well, that's rather simple. You're talking the difference between 1984, where the government controls speech, the government controls thought, the government controls all means of production. Everything is run through the state, by the state, for the state. You are a property of the state. You are required to work because you are the means of production. Shit don't get done unless people do it. AI and bots and technology and robotics. Somebody has to build the robot. Somebody has to write the AI. They don't write themselves. So those people are products of the state at that point. They are state-run people. Now you have people writing the AIs that are doing the automated trending or automated tasks who are of the government leanings, meaning they are socialists. They now control the narrative because you put all that power in their hands. But that's 1984. You just handed the keys to the city to everyone, and now you are owned by the state. The state takes over and takes control. The only difference between that and democratic socialism is that you get to elect who you put in charge. Welcome to the Hunger Games. The president is elected into that position. It doesn't matter if the citizenry of the plebs that are doing all the farm work and whatever vote against, because they'll be executed if they vote against, or they get thrown into the lotto. May the odds be ever in your favor. Democratic socialism just means, as I put it to somebody else on Twitter, you get to elect your slave master. You got to vote for who's going to be your boss. Anyways, I thought this was kind of interesting that the two countries that these people are fleeing from, I thought I'd take a look at those countries and say, what the hell's going on? Why are they running away? Why are they coming to America? Why are they going to Mexico? Why is life so bad over there? And it turns out that 10, 15 years of socialism destroys the economy, makes the cartels and the drugs and the thuggery happen with ease. And then those people that have a shit ton of money out of those bleed the rest of society and buy the politicians, or become the politicians and are probably drug lords to begin with. I mean, it's asinine. All because socialism puts too much power in the hands of government and takes the power out of the people's hands. Democratic socialism doesn't work because the government can now manipulate the answers of the people. And you don't get a fucking say in it. What are you going to do? Revolt? Well, you took all the guns away from everyone. So now they have nothing. What are they going to throw rocks at somebody with an AR-14? Or AR-16? AK-47? One of those fucking guns. Who knows? I don't do assault rifles. At any rate, yeah. This is why socialism's retarded. And if anybody in the Democratic Party is like, let them in, they deserve to be there, ask what they're running away from. They kind of leave that part out. What are they running away from, Bernie Sanders? Democratic socialism is what they're fucking running away from. Some people need to get a grip.
I've completed my work. Time for me to go.